Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Nadia, aka Pussy Riot, welcome to Origin Stories.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's good time to start 13:12 right now on my clock.
Perfect. It lines up well. And a big shout out to our friend Ryan. Thank you, X, for making the connection in the first place and just having a lot of nice things to say about you. And then, of course, I go and I do my own research and reading and to stack on top of what I already know. And now I'm really excited to dig in with you.
I'm excited too.
So every origin story begins like this. The question is, what is your origin story, Nadia? And you can take it wherever you want, as far back as you want to go, but pick a spot and start us somewhere.
Well, I was born in Siberia, at the place where if you spit, then it's going to reach ground in the shape of ice cube. And it's pretty cold. It's like very north of Canada or Alaska. So that's where I was born. Didn't have a lot of social life, just reading books and studying. And then I moved to Moscow, started to study philosophy, formed an art collective, and protested against Putin. And then I formed another one that's called Pussy Riot. And we were so effective in fighting against our government. So our government wanted to jail us, and so we spent 2 years in jail. After that, we didn't give up, started a few organizations, including a media outlet that quickly became one of the most important independent media outlets in Russia that works and thrives up until this day. It's called Media Zona. And we also founded an organization to fight for prisoners' rights and provide them with legal help. This is my story.
So take us all the way back. And you mentioned philosophy, right? And you mentioned that growing up in Siberia, you read a lot, and then you ended up studying philosophy. What were the most impactful things that you read that were part of your formative thinking and just developing how you perceive the world?
I read Sartre, and I was a sad teenager, and I was like, oh my God, he speaks to me. And then I read Camus, and I felt the same. And I started to realize that I don't want to have any job in my life, never, because life is finite, or how do you say it in English?
Yeah, finite.
It has an end, finite, right? So I don't want to waste my life on having a job, but I'm perfectly fine with people who want to do that, but I just didn't want to do that. So that's what existentialism gave me. And then I entered Moscow State University to study philosophy, and I would say post-structuralists or postmodernists, as people somehow call them, they were the most impactful because they and also conceptual art, they opened up my eyes on the importance of context, and that gives you absolute freedom, like pretty much absolute freedom. So we were doing the craziest political art actions, but I feel like philosophy, like including Derrida and Deleuze and Guattari and Yulia Kristeva and Judith Butler, they were in charge of bringing this craziness to us because they freed us. And yeah, philosophy made me feel like I'm a student in Paris in 1968. And I felt totally free, and I wanted to change the world. And I was running around declaring that there is a beach under the pavement, and that's why we started Pussy Riot.
So go a little bit more into that. So talk about the start of that. So there is beach under the pavement, and take us a little further.
So there is a reason why I decided not to follow that route. These days I'm talking with my art
Mhm.
and was my political actions.
Tell me, what was the turning point to that? Was it Pussy Riot was the turning point from philosophy to more action, or was that something that happened progressively over the years?
I quickly realized that studying is not enough,
Mhm.
and especially in such an institution as Moscow State University, it's pretty rigid. And I have problems in general with modern system of education. I think I wasted a lot of time on that. So,
Mhm.
like 10 years of my school life, I feel like I'm looking back and I think it was like kind of like penal colony because I was just uh, I was just shaped into this obedient
Mhm.
creature, and I had to work so hard to unlearn it later. And also, I didn't gain any knowledge. They wouldn't give me methods of how to work with my brain and how to process information. So they would just make me just, traditional approach that we see in most of educational institutions, just learning data, which is completely pointless when we have Google and other and other search engines. Yeah. So I quickly realized that just studying is not enough for me, and I need also practice alongside with theory. And we formed the first art collective that was called Vaina, which means war. And we made actions like, storming the White House of Russia,
Mhm.
projected skull and bones on the Parliament of Russia. It was down with laser beam, and the image was giant. It was 40 meters on 60 meters. And then after once we made the projection, we ran through the territory of the White House. And the White House of Russia, they're really scared of everyone. So they surrounded themselves with 6 meters fence.
Mm.
So we jumped through that fence, destroyed some surveillance cameras on the territory, and just ran away. Nobody caught us. So that's how I spent my youth. And also, I made this action. It was my birthday. So that was the way I celebrated my birthday. So I guess, yeah, like at night, I was mixing Molotov cocktails and learning how to make better mixture for Molotov cocktail and how to throw them better. I still have scars on my body from from throwing them unsuccessfully sometimes. And during a daytime, I would go to lectures and read Plato and Aristotle.
So there are two questions that come to my mind. Is that, at such an age when you're shifting now from philosophy into activism, and you're looking, so number one, it's what is your utopia, right? So that when you're stepping into these situations, which can be deemed risky, right? Which is going to tie into my second question. But first question, what are you hoping to achieve in those moments, in those demonstrations? And then the second is there a fear factor there? That when you're describing that, I think someone on the outside looking in would say, oh my gosh, weren't you scared? How did you process that?
I think it's important to, when you talk about utopia, to understand and stress that there are a lot of utopias, and I think we should talk about them always in like multiple
Mhm.
sense, because if it's just one utopia, it's pretty much like Soviet state had just one utopia, and it ended up in being
Mm.
dystopia for everyone else. So I mean, like, it's important to have in mind that there should be different versions of utopia that we can join, and
Mhm.
so utopia never can be centralized. It should be decentralized, and thus there should be lots of utopias.
Mhm.
That's what I mean. So I feel like for everyone who was involved in our collective, we had our own version of utopia, but it had definitely some common features, like, for example, better democracy. Have really centralized power system in our country, and a lot of other countries as well. But Russia is in my focus, so we wanted to get rid of Vladimir Putin. We wanted to, in short term, to see our country as a parliamentary republic instead of presidential republic, with the concentrated power. And later down the line, we wanted to see more elements of direct democracy implemented in our political system. And we believe that there are tools for that, whatever it's called, the cloud or electronic democracy. We can actually vote for so many issues on a daily basis that concern that touch our lives, but we don't really do it. We just elect officials like every 4 years, and that's not right. That's not, I feel like, how we should govern our societies these days. So I was an anarchist, and everyone else around me pretty much were an anarchist and Antifa, and know that it's labeled by Donald Trump as a terrorist movement, but that's funny to me because I've met the most kind and generous people in that movement who really believe in solidarity and who really ready to give up their freedom and lives sometimes for the sake of the better future, which is more inclusive, happy, kind, and equal for its members. I had 2 friends who were murdered. No, actually, I have 3 friends who were murdered along this route. 2 of them were anarchists, anti-fascists, and they were murdered by neo-Nazis. And one, Boris Nemtsov, he was a liberal politician. I also knew him really well, and he was murdered in front of Kremlin, and we believe that it was done with approval of Kremlin. It happened a few years ago, and so heartbreaking. But where do we have courage? To know, I guess same thing. You have just one life, and it's going to end. Like within a few dozens of years, because we still didn't learn how to live forever, unfortunately. Anyway, that you have like a few dozens of years of your life, like the best 100, and you just want to live it meaningfully. And I think that's what we all have in common within our community. And jumping super forward, because because I think I'm much more interested in the future than in the past. I'm really stoked about being part of crypto community and NFT community, because those people, they also have this feeling that we are here for something bigger than us. And I haven't seen it in a while, because I was stuck in music industry for a second, because I'm genuinely interested in creating music, but also I feel like music industry in general has lost this feeling of that we are something bigger than just us. Like most of the time, people just do something to make themselves more famous or make themselves richer, and there is nothing wrong with these goals, but like to me, we always have to think about something more grand than just our lives. And at least for me, it excites me. I'm cool if someone else needs something different, and I always stress it, like it's important to understand that like whatever I say, it's not instructional. it's just my observation, and I can talk about what excites personally me. And I love people with big ideas. I love visionaries. I love when people think big, and that's what I see these days happening in crypto community, and just love to be a fly on the wall and learn from them.
I mean, it feels like it fits so well. So one of the answers that I loved was you talking about multiple utopias. I think it's a really
Mhm.
interesting answer, right? It's that you immediately, it's no, we should acknowledge that there are many utopias. And I think that's smart. And I think it's true. And so how do you first arrive at crypto? Because again, I feel like it fits so well with the description of your history and how your mindset evolved, and then the types of activism you participated in with that goal in mind. How did you find crypto in the first place?
I was a nerd, and I was surrounded by nerds, and were learning ways how to hide our chats from the government, how to escape uh, this prison system that later became known because of Edward Snowden. But
Mhm.
like growing up as an activist in Russia, in a fairly authoritarian country, I was learning all these methods how to protect yourself. So at the time when I was learning about that was like 2007, 2008. Um, we didn't talk about crypto, but we were just like in our minds, like pretty close to what's happening in this world right now.
Mhm.
And we're educating ourselves about Tor and just VPNs and all that kind of shit. I just moved away from it because I didn't feel like I can actually learn about it good enough, and I felt like I should focus myself on something that I'm really good at,
Mhm.
which was organizing public performances, making political campaigns, and just making art, making political art. So I came back just this year, it was beginning of this year, when I've learned from my close friends who were working on NFT drops. It was Mark Busher, who is in charge of War Name. Um, it's a drop that was done earlier this year on Nifty Gateway. He collaborated with his sister Grimes on that drop. And I love Mark dearly. He's such a smart and generous human being. I can just talk with him for hours and ask him to tell me about this and that and that and that and that. So that basically because of him and also because of my friends in Jadu that just dropped jetpacks on OpenSea. I got into NFT space, and we made a drop on Foundation. It was really cute because everyone was really welcoming, and I felt like because this whole scene, oh, I know it wasn't born yesterday, but it's still fairly new and it's flexible, and people here generally much more open-minded than in other industries. So it was just really nice and refreshing for me coming from the music industry and generally from the entertainment industry.
So bridge that gap for us. When you're having those conversations with Mac, how do you get to the point where you're officially saying, now is the right time for me to launch my NFT or my sequence of NFTs?
It happened really quickly because coincidentally, at the same time, a few weeks after Mac dropped his NFTs, we were about to launch a video, volumetric, volumetric video that involves my hologram running around this 3D world. And it was called Panic Attack, and we were about to just release it on YouTube. Um, so we did, but also we realized that this video is pretty perfect for an NFT series because it's beautiful. It's done with using like cutting edge technology, so we felt like people from the community may just enjoy it and understand it. We used 120 cameras to capture my hologram, and then this amazing artist Ruben Fra, he created 3D worlds for this piece of art. And at the same time, this piece was uh, political because we talk about things like objectification and consumption in the video. I'm running through a row of my clones that hanged upside down, ready to be slaughtered. It's like kind of dystopian future. And there are many dystopias as well. And I'm just obsessed with genre of dystopias and I think I will never stop creating them. So we felt it's a really good fit for the space. What else? Another reason why I decided to enter was that crypto and NFT community, they're still up to this day mostly they dominated by men, and often they're dominated by white men from the first world countries. So I felt that's going to be good for diversity in the space if a group of women from, I guess Russia is considered second world country, will enter the space. And because you always have this choice. If you see that there is no enough diversity in the space, like you can just boycott it, or you can come in if you feel like it can change and try to change it. And I felt like the space is so flexible at this point and it's fairly new, so we can actually make a difference. So I hope we did.
I think that's a great point. It's, when looking at a space, you do have those choices to make. But when you looked at this space in particular, you saw one that was new and nascent and very, very malleable. I think if you've learned nothing over the past, even just year, yeah, this space changes very rapidly and can be changed very rapidly by one person, by multiple people. So, I mean, I love that you saw it that way and decided to come in and make your own impact. And the question that I'd ask you there is, what did you expect? When you had the conversations, you thought, hey, this video that we're going to release on YouTube is perfect for this. Let's bring it into the space. What did you expect? Seeing maybe not as diversified a space as you wanted, how did you think it would be perceived?
Ooh, well, I have philosophy of just jumping into things, and so I didn't expect much. I was just curious. It's like, so life is like a computer game for me, and when you enter a computer game, what do you expect? I guess you expect to have like certain experience, and reflecting back on that experience, it was really emotional and felt definitely like a roller coaster, because I realized that I'm not seriously a part of the community. So I just stopped sleeping or eating or going to toilet, or like stopped brushing my teeth and just sitting with my phone or in front of my computer and trying to connect with as many people as I can and learn from them. And I think I was incredibly annoying, but people, as I said, they're really generous in this space. So whenever now someone asks me, like people like they are just about enter the space, and they ask me what to do, say just connect with people and be okay that 9 out of 10 probably are not going to answer you, because they will never probably see this message, but they can never be upset about it, because that's fine. Like they will find this one person who's going to answer you, and they may end up being your best friend in life, or just at least in the space. And that's how I found incredible people like Bernd Banksy, who connected me with Jean Wolflion, who died this summer because of coronavirus, and it's a major loss for the community and for me personally, because I know him since 2014, but we never were like super close. We just worked on something in 2014, and so I reconnected with him this year because Bernd Banksy was like, yeah, just jump into Clubhouse. I was like, I have no I don't even have an account in Clubhouse. He was like, just create it. Like it's gonna be fine. I'm like, yeah, like one person is going to follow me. I'll fail. He was like, no, it's gonna be fine. And so he connected me with Jin, who again was extremely generous with his time. He just organized 3 hours Clubhouse room for like talking about Pussy Riot's history and our activism, and um, it was insane. And then 1,000 people showed up to the room, and a few of them decided to bid on the piece, and that's how it reached 100 ETH. The very first piece that I dropped on as an NFT.
Which is incredible. And so I was gonna, if you didn't, I was gonna say it. I mean, the first of the 4 NFTs goes for 100 ETH, and then collectively all 4 almost 200 ETH. But an incredible entrance into the NFT space in general. And how did you feel after? So you walk into this clubhouse and you're met with 1,000 people, and then the NFT launches, and then that's the response. How did you feel after the fact?
I felt overwhelmed. I couldn't sleep. I had to continue work on something else. I've been shooting a music video right after. So I went to my friend's place to shoot a music video, and I just couldn't explain them. What is that? Like, what is NFTs, and who are these people who are who are part of it? But you know, as with every big thing that happens in my life, I feel like it's my goal to first learn as much as I can, and educate other people, and third, give this tool to other people to use. So I feel like that was my role ever since, and I launched this thing that's called NFT award, where I would pick political artists and pay for their gas fee and help them to promote their artwork. And sometimes if I saw that, you know, just because they're not really deep in the space, so like nobody wants to buy their artwork, I would buy it myself just because I want to support them. So yeah, after my drop, I was just overwhelmed, and I felt like, I probably need to give back to the space, because like the space could clearly give me so much, and like all at once. So it was important for me not to drop anything for a while, because I didn't want to feel like, to myself first of all, like, oh wow, this is an amazing opportunity, I'll just go to get as much money as I can and run.
Right.
So
and that's and it's, you know, it's, I love that you're in places like this talking about that, because I do think, you know, the community, while growing very rapidly, is still relatively small overall. And I know it's a running topic within the community. The running topic within the community is so and so here to stay, you know, especially when somebody has stature outside of the community and comes into it. I think it's always a question that pops up. It's well, is this a cash grab, right? That's the phrase that's used a lot. And it's thinking, is this someone who's here, like you said, to learn, to educate, to spread those tools to, I love that you use the gas fee thing. It's been a thing on Origin Stories. A number of artists who have started out have had their gas fees paid, and then they've since passed that down the line. So I love that you've done the same.
I think it's important to help other people, and it's important for me to bring here more diverse crowd. I'm happy to support women artists and non-binary and gender fluid artists. And that's what I've seen people done with me, and I'm gonna pass it on. Like one of the people who were another example of extreme generosity with their time and context was Justin Versano, the photographer, who made extremely, like, he did extremely well, but and for a reason, because he wasn't just taking, but he was giving a lot. And when I just met him, I met him in April this year. He sold his photos initially for a fairly low price, and he would let them grow organically. And so these days his work sell for 100, 200 and more ETH. And his collectors are actually gaining a lot, like not just spending on him, but it's like right now it's actually profitable for them. And Justin connected me with CryptoPunk community. So in summer of this year, I connected with a bunch of girls and guys over there, and they in turn taught me a lot. So these days I'm growing Pussy Riot Discord, and in my mind, it should be a hub for activists and crypto and NFT people, where they can just cross-pollinate and educate each other about things that they're passionate about. When I started Discord, I was stressing a bit because I felt like maybe I don't have enough time for this commitment to just like literally be there all the time and telling people what to do and reading lectures about activism for crypto people and about a crypto for activists. I was like, because at the same time I make music and music videos and like and really deeply really deep inside Russian activist stuff. And then somebody from his NFT circle told me, like, don't worry, like people are serious about decentralization here, so you're going to use this space to educate each other, and you're not much needed there. I mean, like, just be present, of course, but you don't have to make all the job. It's really different from all other spaces that we've seen. And now a few months later, I totally see this is happening, and actually people are giving each other advices and like what are the best platform, what are the best strategies to release NFTs, like how to launch your first NFT. And this is just incredible.
Yeah, and you created that space, and then it became decentralized and started to further those, exactly the topics that you wanted to be talked about, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
and it feels like magic.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, this space does have a number of qualities of magic, and I keep saying it's like, of course, it won't. A number of those qualities may not last in that pure of a form forever, but why not? Yeah. I mean, embrace the state of the state of the community right now, because I think it's a pretty incredible thing.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the community and the space is new, and I feel like maybe that's how music industry felt in 1968. When Nina Simone was writing the song about Martin Luther King, when Janis Joplin was around. I feel like when those people would come into the studio, I doubt that Janis Joplin was like, okay, how do I reach #1 on Spotify and just get $1 million $1,000,000 from an album? Like, she really wanted to change the world. Nina Simone was risking her career, which was damaged because of her political activism, but she didn't care. And I have goosebumps even when I think about these people. And like, I think this happens when the industry is still new, and like, later down the line, everything is so rigid, and it's much more about gatekeeping than about giving and reaching common goals.
Yeah, it's good perspective too. I like the analogy, and I hope those listening to this can take something from that. Like, it's, I mean, we're always living history, right? But there are certain periods of history that are very impactful, especially when you happen to find something like the space that we occupy, which again is so new, and there's a real opportunity to make a difference and be part of something that's making a difference. So hopefully people can appreciate that a little bit more today, just listening to this. So Nadia, March happens and you release these NFTs to much acclaim, dramatic success. And now many months later, you are embarking upon a new NFT journey. What can you say about that today?
On the 29th of September, which is almost in a week, dropping a super special piece from me. It's a mixture of legacy historical piece and an artwork that I've done like in 2021. So it's like old and new in the same bottle. I used my prison sentence, 2012 prison sentence, an exact copy that was given me when I was sitting in a prison cell 309. They gave it to me after I was sentenced to 2 years, and I hated that paper. I hate it. I never thought I'm going to want to do anything good with it. And so years later, I took it from a closet. I still hate it. I still hated paper because, truth is I have to hold on to it till the rest of my life, because otherwise I'm not able to get any documents in Russia. Like once you're convict for life. And that's that sad truth. And you have to have your prison sentence around for all your life. So I have that shit. So I'm making pictures of that shit, and I'm making a collage. And to overcome this fear and sense of like just being disgusted with this paper, I've decided to apply on top of it really childish and happy anarchist pictures. The centerpiece is a Virgin Mary in the shape of vagina, hand drawn by me, and a slogan: "Virgin Mary, please become a feminist." This is the main phrase from our song, for which we ended up for 2 years in jail. And one of the reasons why they gave us 2 years, and it's written in my prison sentence as well, they go in depth about it, extremely philosophical for whatever reason. They say that feminism is against Russian Orthodox Church, and the worldview of feminism goes against it. Thus, these girls, including Nadia, they wanted to destroy the spirituality and like 1,000 years tradition of our country. So that bullshit is written in my prison sentence. And so yeah, and other pictures I applied on top of it, like, a cute pig with the slogan that this pig hates racists, stuff like that. So I wanted to use I wanted to add a little bit more color and happiness to this terrible story and this terrible document that kind of ruined my life for 2 years. So I'm dropping that, and I'm dropping at the same time 200 pieces of that are much more accessible for everyone. It's just 0.1312, which stands for ACAB. And yeah, so it's like 1 of 1 and superior, and mintable 200 pieces for everyone who wants to get.
And 1312, also the time we started this podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
How perfect is that? No, I mean, that sounds extremely accessible, right? And so you have a 1 of 1 that will, I would imagine, will do extremely well, especially when you talk about, I mean, the meaning behind it, right? It's you're bringing a very serious piece of yourself and also adding obviously a lot of layers to it in the process. But then, yeah, to have 200 pieces that are accessible, to expand your collector base like that, I think a lot of people will enjoy.
Yeah, I always had problems with 1 of 1s, and that was, I think before I figured out that I actually can make more accessible drop, I was thinking for a second that I don't really want to be active, like as an actor in the NFT space, because I disliked this feeling of talking about art piece that's not available for most of my audience. Just felt like a piece of crap. I didn't like that. So I think from now on, it's going to be important for me to make something, to be sure that it's accessible for the community, because you can't just talk about the community and then drop. I mean, you can, but it's kind of crappy if you continue just dropping 1 of 1s.
Yeah, and I mean, so many of the things that you've said in terms of your evolution and how you're even approaching this community, that it makes me smile, right? It makes me smile in that you are someone who's bringing yourself to it and figuring out ways that stay true to yourself while also adding that true value to the community and furthering it and furthering a number of artists within it, and now considering the collector base as well. So I'd love to hear, and tell us where can we find those pieces?
We're building a website, and the website will appear on Pussy Riot's Twitter. So Twitter and Discord, they're main hubs for Pussy Riot NFT activity. So if you go to Pussy Riot Twitter, which is like Pussy Riot, but 3R, because Pussy Riot just wasn't available. So that's why it's like Pussy Riot. So you go there, and at the day of the drop, it will appear in the bio, the link to the website.
Great.
And also important saying, part of the proceeds will go to Russian political prisoners and to an organization that helps women to overcome domestic violence situations. This was another thing that was always important for me, to just make sure that part of the proceeds goes to causes that I know deeply and support. Also, I was in front of an interesting question before this drop. I wanted to donate to Afghanistan, to Afghani women, but I didn't really know to which foundation I should donate, and I felt a little bit like an idiot. And then I thought maybe it's better for me to focus on local organizations that are local to me, and like I know in and outs. I know exactly who are effective here in this space. So I just decided to follow old rule, think globally, act locally. So that's why I decided to focus on Russia again.
And it's also it's important though to go through that process of knowing what you're contributing to, knowing where those funds are going. So I can understand why you made the decision you did.
It's incredibly important. I feel like a lot of people they underestimate this step, because there are numbers of really well-known NGOs, and people just assume that it's best to donate them, but it's not exactly true, because some of these organizations that they are global, they have global network, but they're not necessarily effective on the ground. Like, for example, Amnesty International, it can be really cool in Netherlands, but they act really clumsy in Russia, and sometimes they cause more harm than do good. Like, for example, they went against Alexei Navalny, who is a political prisoner right now. He's like the enemy #1 of Vladimir Putin, and he was almost murdered last year. And Amnesty International went against him this year, which was extremely harmful for the whole activist community in Russia. So just being an activist since I was 17 years old, I try to be really cautious, because sometimes this international human rights organizations or something, not always, but like sometimes they can cause harm. So make your research before you donate, and make sure that those guys, they know what they do.
Yeah, do your own research for sure. And I think that those issues, as well as the issues of how many funds, what percentage of funds are actually allocated to the cause that you think they are, all things worth looking into. Now, Nadia, I know that you have to go. Do you have 3 minutes to play a very quick game on the way out?
Okay, let's try.
So I call it the lightning round, and here we go. Topic number 1, thank you, X.
Amazing human being.
NFTs.
Fun and hopefully effective.
Ethereum.
Promising.
Foundation.
The beginning.
Amir.
The most generous and kind human being I've seen in years.
Seed phrase, Danny.
Really fun, knowledgeable, and looking forward to hanging with him more.
G Money.
Oh, the best advisor I've seen in my life. He can explain your thing in 5 minutes. The same thing some other people would take 3 hours to explain.
Metapurse.
Friends.
The last piece of art that you saw that made your jaw drop.
Can I bring someone from music industry?
Sure, you go anywhere you want.
I want to bring my friend Dorian Electra, and I think their whole body of work makes my jaw drop for years. And one of them is History of Clitoris. You should look it up.
I'll make sure we have the link in the show notes after. And then
I can wait honestly when Dorian is going to come to NFTs. I think like they're fairly skeptical as a lot of musicians, and I feel like it's mostly because their fan base is really against NFTs, because generally people are annoyed when you tell them about NFTs.
Mhm. Yes,
I really hope that they will find a way how to overcome it.
I hope so too. And who knows, maybe your experience, I mean, like you're doing already, your education process and passing that along to others, maybe you'll break through and it will all work out.
Yeah, honestly, I was scared to launch it. It was earlier this year, so also it was I think people had more fears about NFTs than now, but it went fine. I also followed up with a conversation with Vitalik Buterin, who explained his roadmap for Ethereum for Pussy Riot community, and I feel like a lot of people, they really respected him for talking in depth about environmental issues, and also like he was like extremely he went extremely in details about how Ethereum and crypto in general can help activist communities. I feel like people started to see more ups than downs.
Nadia, last but not least, before we let you go, it's a slightly different way to phrase that last question. The last piece of art or artist that you looked at and said, why don't more people know about this artwork or this person or this group of people?
I was fascinated with art of Gremplin, but I feel like a lot of people know about him, but I feel much more people should know about him. So Cryptodes, he launched that one, and he worked on a lot of other projects, and he's just an incredible artist.
We'll link as well, but I do think, I think a lot more people than before went through the same process as yourself and learned a lot more very quickly.
We should learn.
So always
the main activity in life.
And then to your point, pass it along, right? Find some way to pass it along and empower someone else. So thank you, by the way, for making the time.
It's so lonely to know things by yourself. Just, like sitting in your ivory tower and knowing things and keeping them to yourself. No, boring.
You're right. So it's a much better life to get down from that tower and spread it around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm excited to release this and also for your next release. And I just want to say again, it's refreshing to me. I knew a little bit about you. I knew a little bit more about you after talking to Thank You X, and then of course doing my own stuff and research. But now here talking to you today and just reflecting with you on March and your entire NFT process and how you've walked that forward with the community in mind in your Discord and beyond, with such an open mind and a mind that wants to help others along the way. I'm leaving a believer. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was a really great conversation.
All right, Nadia of Pussy Riot, take care.